Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today you are joining me in my Mark 8 Golf GTI. I've had this car for well over 18 months and I have enjoyed this as a daily car. Now in this video I'm going to cover the cost of ownership of this car, things like miles per gallon, fuel costs, all of that stuff. Probably not so much insurances because there's so many variables that go into that, so I'm not going to cover that, but other things like say road tax and all of that stuff will be covered, and the servicing, etc, etc. So yeah, we're gonna give you a quick walk around of the car just for you guys to enjoy what this car looks like and some of the things that I've done to it, and then we'll hit those country lanes and we'll start talking about the cost of ownership of this Golf GTI. A very dirty Mark 8 Golf GTI. It's got some 18-inch bowler alloy wheels, black mirror caps, and someone wanted to appreciate my car so much that they decided to key it all the way along. Here is what it is. We've got a Club Sport style rear spoiler. I'm going to get that sorted, that's not an issue. The car has been lowered on racing line springs, that's why it looks pretty decent. It does need a clean, which is something that I will sort out. The weather hasn't been great recently. But yeah, that's my GTI, which I've enjoyed for about 18 months. Let's just jump into the car. So as you can see from a trip computer point, and if we're going to long term, I've done about 2,000 miles, and obviously my average speed has been about 25 miles per hour, which has been mainly town driving, and it's averaged about 36.6 miles per gallon. Now that, from a GTI perspective, I think is pretty decent. I'm going to talk more about that as well when we're on, let's say, the drive. So my Golf GTI then, how has it been in terms of ownership and the cost of ownership of this car? So in terms of, let's say, fuel economy and all of that good stuff, I can't really fault this car. Now there might be a few of you kind of thinking, well, why are you kind of doing this kind of weird? Now the reason why I'm doing this is because I think the cost of ownership, especially when it comes to, like, say, hot hatches or even like some kind of performance car, is quite important to most people. You don't want to buy these cars and then let them sit on, like, say, the drive because you can't afford to run them. Like I said, I'm not going to talk about insurances or leasing costs or anything like that. Let's just assume you've got the car, and then how much is this car going to cost you to run on a daily basis? Now you already saw from the impressive fuel economy figures, this car will average around about sort of mid-20s to, like, say, 30s locally. That is genuinely what I've been getting. The tank size on this car is around 50 litres, so most of the time when you're going to fill the tank up, it's not going to cost you more than, let's say, £60–65 based on today's prices of around £1.35 a litre. So genuinely, like, it's not going to cost a lot of money to fill the tank up each time. Now this car is quite efficient, even though it's a 2-litre turbocharged petrol engine. And part of the reason for that is the car itself is like a hatchback, so it's quite light. I think it only weighs around 1.5 tons, and a lot of that nimbleness you can feel on the road. I mean, the car is really responsive, like, it's just set up right. You'd never seem to feel like you want to be, like, fully flooring the throttle. Around town this car's got plenty of power, and I think that's where, like, you're getting some of these impressive, like, fuel economy numbers. Now some of you might be thinking you're not driving the car hard. Trust me, the car gets driven quite hard. Now obviously it is a daily car, so I'm not going to be booting it around, you know, from traffic light to traffic light, but the thing is, it's still a 2-litre car, so from that point it's fairly efficient. So in terms of road tax or vehicle excise duty, this costs around £200 a year, and that's because at the time that this car was brand new, it had a list price of under 40k in the UK, so therefore you don't have to pay the premium rate of road tax. So in terms of servicing, you can only get these cars if you're buying from a main dealer, like with a service pack anyway, like the way I've got. So it's got like a 2-year service pack with it, so it's not really going to cost me anything to service. But the last time I went for, like, a major service, it was about £300 if I had to pay out my own pocket. Now that did include spark plugs as well as all the filters. So again, it's not going to cost like an arm and a leg to maintain these cars. The one thing I will say is, being front wheel drive, and if you are using, you know, a lot of the power most of the time and launch controls and stuff like that, you are going to chew through, like, say, the front tires more so you'll have to probably spend like up to like I don't know, 220, 250 pound per corner for tires if you want some decent rubber. But again, those are the kind of things that are consumables, and you'll end up, you know, choosing what you want to do. Now, I've not had, like, say, any major, let's say, concerns or issues with this car. Of course, I did have a problem with, like, say, the SOS and the emergency system going up, and, like, fortunately for me, that was covered under warranty, so that got resolved. I think most cars after, like, say, 2021, I think they should be okay. This is one of the early cars and they did suffer with that, but thankfully that's all now sorted. Let's go down here and go into sport mode as well, because why not? Makes a decent sound. It's got the right amount of, like, say, power and performance in this car for, like, a fairly warmish hatch. I wouldn't call this like a full-blown hot hatch. I think it's got a decent amount of power, and it's quite apparent. I think with some of these sort of styling mods and the lowering springs that I've had fitted to this car, they just make that feel a little bit better as well. I mean, it does turn quite a lot of heads wherever I go. Usually it's the wheels anyway. Now, of course, if you're going to drive like this all the time, it's going to impact, like, your economy in terms of fuel economy, and it is going to cost you a little bit more, like, money, like, to fuel up more regularly. But generally, like, a full tank on this, I normally get, like, well over 200 miles, like 230, 240 miles. Nice. So from that point, it doesn't really break the bank like owning one of these cars. And it's quite nice. You can go out, have like a little hoon like this, and still return, like, you know, mid-30s from an MPG point. I think the way the situation is with the GTIs at the moment on, like, say, the used market, they're around something like this. They're around about 25k. Some might even be cheaper depending on the mileage, but you know, you can pick one of these up in decent condition for around that price. You can do your modifications however you want to, and you can really enjoy them around town. You can really enjoy them on long distance driving, and the best thing is it doesn't break your bank to actually own one of these cars. I mean, I've had cars which are a lot more expensive to drive on a daily basis. You know, you kind of bite the bullet and you have one of those, but for, let's say, the amount of power that you get that you can actually use, so let's call it usable power on a daily basis, these things are quite hard to beat. And they're not like raw either, like, you know, a bit too much. These are just right in terms of, like, say, the image, in terms of how they perform on the road, and how they affect your wallet as well. So if you're in the market looking for a Golf GTI or the EA888 engine in whichever VAG group car that you might be looking at, I don't think you'll be upset about its performance, and I don't think you'll be annoyed at how much it costs you to run this on a daily basis. If you guys have enjoyed today's informative content on cost of ownership of a Golf GTI, give it a like, subscribe if you haven't done so already, and hopefully, guys, I'll see you on another one. Take care. Bye.